Welcome to the Numinous Factor, the home of spiritual and metaphysical exploration through the guiding lights of Ronnie Mae James, medium, and Claudia Ruland, astrologer. Debate and discussion, observation and openness, stimulation and sensitivity to all matters pertaining to our soul. The Numinous Factor.
Welcome to the Numinous Factor. And last week we discussed the power of hypnosis and its relation to healing with reference to the work of Edgar Cayce. So this week we're going to talk about the work of Dr. Michael Newton and Dr. Bruce Goldberg, who discovered groundbreaking information about what happens in the afterlife. So how did they do this? We're going to discuss the power of hypnosis again, but this time we're going to be talking about things in relation to how these revolutionary experts have used hypnosis to discover what happens to us when we pass over. They have nearly a combined total of 60 years between them, and this is of research which they have obviously accumulated and provided over a series of, as I said, 30 years each. So Claudia is going to discuss Dr. Michael Newton's discoveries and how this collated information has formed his interpretation of what happens to us. Then I'll discuss the work of Dr. Bruce Goldberg and compare this information with the understanding of the afterlife from my cultural perspective. And this is kind of linked to some aspects of white witchcraft. So let's find out, where do we go and what happens to us after we take our final breath and head towards the clouds upstairs, if that's where we actually go. So over to you, Claudia.
I like that imagery.
Yeah, lovely to welcome you again to another podcast.
Yay! Yeah, and I've been so looking forward to this episode because Dr. Newton is absolutely one of my heroes in relation to events that have occurred in my life, finding answers to things. And I think we should also today invite anyone out in spirit who wants to come along and have a listen to the show. If you're out there in spirit, hanging out there, just come in and say hi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just open the spiritual door and come in.
Yeah, come and hang and, sit on the bleachers off to the side there and you can cheer us on if you want.
Yeah.
Look, Michael Newton, I came across him probably about 15, 20 years ago, reading his books. I think all of us, we sort of are looking for answers from time to time, and it does help when you have people like this who can provide answers if you're looking for them, which is that's a big thing in itself. I think if it's something that you want to find out, there is information out there. And I think you just have to be quite open-minded about it all. Michael Newton, he was born in 1931, and he actually has the answers now because he passed away in 2016. So he's got validation of everything. Yeah. He's like, oh, yeah, I was right. Oh, he lived to a ripe old 85 years old, so that's not too bad. And having a doctorate in counseling psychology, Dr. Newton, Michael Newton, practiced psychology for over 50 years as a certified master hypnotherapist and LBL, or Life Between Lives therapist. Dr. Newton was a pioneer in uncovering the mysteries of life after death through the use of spiritual regression. Dr. Newton's work has provided the most comprehensive model of the afterlife that is available today. As a hypnotherapist in private practice, Dr. Newton developed his own hypnosis techniques to reach his subjects' hidden memories of the afterlife. While in deep hypnosis, these subjects described what happened to them in their lives between reincarnations on Earth. They revealed how it felt to die, who met them in spirit when they first arrived. They described the spirit world, what we do as souls, and why we choose to come back in certain bodies and in certain life situations. Because of his subjects' consistent accuracy while in the hypnotic state, Dr. Newton believed that the recorded responses of his subjects provided credible information, even using the same words and graphic descriptions of the afterlife. The chances of 7,000 subjects all knowing each other was highly unlikely, meaning that obviously there was something to this, because there's no way all these people could have the same information.
No.
Just a few little sort of dot points here. Our soul initially arrives at the orientation or staging area, and this is all information that Dr. Newton uncovered. What's called the staging area. He described it as a central airport terminal.
Well, that's a clever way of describing it, isn't it?
Yeah. So imagine this big open space where when you first arrive in spirit, this is where after someone's greeted you, they take you through to this big open space where you get processed.
Yeah.
So this place of pure thought, this is a place of pure thought. That's how it's been described. Our soul arrives and is then collected and projected out to our final destination. In the staging area, there is a continuous feeling of a powerful mental force directing everything in uncanny precision. Souls that have harmed that have harmed others or have committed horrific crimes against other humans are isolated at this point and separated.
Oh.
So they're taken off to the side and dealt with a little differently than those of us who have tried to be good.
Yeah.
Because some people do ask me that. Well, what about people like someone like Hitler or someone like that? Like, that doesn't seem fair that they get to be part of the same process, and they're not.
No.
They're pulled aside because obviously they've made choices that were not terribly great.
Yeah, I just want to say something there, actually.
Yeah.
That the reason that people tend to go off and do, some people, I should say not all, but there are tendencies where people go off and do very unpleasant things to other human beings. Yeah. Is that these entities are probably born with far more psychic ability than others, and so they are more targeted by unwanted entities. So the bad vibrations that can lurk on this planet, so they're kind of persuaded or alluded in some way, to join them. So they have a choice. So basically they come to Earth, they have a choice, but they can be targeted by specific dark entities to try and entice them to do something they wouldn't generally or normally do, and it will be in return for power. When people make promises,
deals with the devil.
Well, it is a bit like that. You may not use the word devil, but they can say, well, if you just give me this, I'll
give you that.
Yeah. Yeah. And usually it's about power.
Good to note. I might have a bit of a talk with Donald Trump about that one. Anyway, once our souls arrive back into once we arrive back into our soul or cluster groups, which I think we've hit on this point before, cluster groups have also been described as transparent bubbles. I like that one.
That is nice, isn't it?
Yeah. We're summoned to appear before the Council of Elders, where we are engaged in direct examination of our activities on Earth. So kind of like a review of what we've been doing, or a debrief.
Yeah.
Cluster group placement is determined by our soul level. Once the cluster is formed, no new members are added. After physical death, a soul's journey back home ends with debarkation into the space reserved for our own colony, as long as we're not a very young soul or have been isolated for other reasons. Our cluster groups are intimate old friends who have the same awareness level. These groups are closely united for all eternity. They are composed of like-minded souls with common objectives, which they continually work out with each other. Usually they choose lives together as relatives and close friends during their incarnation on Earth. And then another thing that, just expanding on this idea, Newton then went into describing what we look like. When obviously we don't look like how we look now because we're in a physical body. When we're in spirit, we look a little different, but our personalities are still resonant. They're still there, and that's what makes us unique. So he said, when we're in spirit, our souls appear as different colors depending on what level we are. So he's saying that this correlates with our state of spiritual evolution. So the beginner soul, so this is how you would recognize a beginner soul, because their light is almost pure white, very, very bright white light.
You'd think it'd be the other way around, wouldn't you? Like association with a hierarchy.
Yeah, well, apparently
the cleaner they are.
That's it. Well, that's what he's saying. At the other end, there is a prominent color there, but it's also very, very bright. So this is where that prominent color does come in. But I think that's to do with just innocence, the pure white light. There are two types of beginner souls who have had little experience to an existence outside of the spirit world, and souls who have been reincarnating on Earth for a long period of time but still remain immature. Newton believed that almost 3/4 of all souls on Earth today are still in the early stages of development. What does that tell you?
I was going to say there's probably half of us at least. You know.
Oh, easily,
Yeah.
easily.
I thought the beginner colour would be kind of like shit brown.
Might be for some, I think.
Not that it'd be, stand out from the crowd.
Oh, God. So we've got beginner, intermediate, and advanced. So intermediate, lower intermediate soul is off-white with reddish or yellow hues.
Yeah.
The intermediate soul is a solid yellow, and the upper intermediate is dark yellow with deep gold and traces of blue.
Ooh.
So again, that's how you recognize when you're in spirit. Once our souls advance into the intermediate range of development, group cluster activity is considerably reduced. This is because they have acquired the maturity and experience for operating more independently. These souls are also incarnating less and are now at a level where they can become potential teachers and are assigned a soul to look after. The leadership performance of the intermediate soul is then evaluated both in and out of the physical incarnations.
They've got a buddy system then in
Got
that
a
airport.
buddy system. Yeah,
Brilliant.
how about that? I like that. Then we move on to the advanced soul. So the first level of the advanced soul is advanced,
Yeah.
which is light blue with traces of purple. The highly advanced, which is absolutely the highest you can go, is a bluish purple surrounded by a radiant light.
Love the colour purple.
Oh, well, there you go. So did Oprah.
I was just thinking that. You read my mind.
I did. Newton believed advanced souls on Earth were rare. These souls are here as incarnated guides and have exceptional insight. Having mastered the fundamental issues most of us wrestle with daily, the advanced soul is more interested in making small refinements towards specific tasks. The mark of an advanced spirit is one who has patience with society and shows extraordinary coping skills. They are frequently found in the helping professions or combating some form of social injustice. The advanced soul radiates composure, kindness, and understanding towards others. Not being motivated by self-interest, they may disregard their own physical needs and live in reduced circumstances.
Oh.
So that's life in the spirit world. Then the final sort of part of the journey is obviously coming back once we make that decision. So Newton says, once the soul has decided to incarnate again, they are directed to the place of life selection. Now, this is really interesting. Souls consider when and where and who they will be before they return to Earth. The life selection area apparently resembles a movie theater. Souls are allowed to see themselves in the future playing on different screens, different roles in various settings, and they can choose between 3 to 4 different scenarios. Once the choice is made, the soul goes before the Council of Elders for a second time. The spirit world is an environment personified by order, and the elders want to reinforce the significance of a soul's goals for the next life. Some return to their spirit group after this meeting to say goodbye, while others just leave immediately for their reincarnation. They're obviously excited and ready to go. This is the last chance for souls to enjoy the omniscience of knowing just who they are before they must adapt to a new body. Isn't that interesting? Yeah, and I've just got some little sort of extra points here that Newton sort of highlighted, which I thought were interesting. And this could be also things that people are wondering about. Souls are generally anxious to move away from the earth after death, so a lot of them hang around for their funeral, which I've heard that.
Yeah.
Most souls initially pass through a tunnel towards the light of heaven, which you've heard that one with people who have near-death experiences. Communication in heaven is done telepathically.
Yeah.
A private form of consciousness between spirits exists through touch. Ghosts are spirits who have chosen to remain within the earth plane, generally with a high degree of discontent. So they're not wanting to let go for whatever reason, or they're a bit angry. Maybe they're really connected to a particular house and they don't like it when someone else has moved in. They want to kick them out. I don't know.
It's usually emotional.
Emotional, yeah.
Good or bad.
That's right.
That's where that comes in.
That's it. The life review is conducted first with your spirit guides and later with the Council of Elders. So you kind of have a bit of a debrief first with your spirit guide before you go before the Council of Elders. Yeah. All souls have a personal guide who may be with them for thousands of years and many lives. Guides can appear as humans as well as spirits. Spirits can experience 2 lives on Earth at the same time. I've heard this. A dormant part of our soul remains in heaven during incarnations. Now, you touched on that, I think, in episode